Hey, it's May 7th, 24 days to go. So, retiring makes me think about how I got into this business in the first place, of course, and where this infatuation with literature came from. So when I go back and think about where that all started, it has to do with how I started to read, who taught me to read. And that has to be connected to going to church at Cheshire and standing on the pew next to Grandma Lackey while Mom and Dad were in the choir. And she'd point to the words in the hymns, and I'd follow along and try to match up what people were singing with what I saw on the page. That and riding to the laundromat in her pickup truck, wedged between her and the basket of laundry, sitting eye level to the dash and reading Chevrolet. Chevrolet. Maybe Chevrolet was the first word I learned to read. I don't know. And then on the other side of the family, of course, Mom's mom was a teacher, and their house was filled with things to read. Mostly magazines, old National Geographics, Reader's Digest, Saturday Evening Posts, Popular Science, magazines of all sorts, stacked up and down the stairs, some of them in the basement. So, when we spent our week in the summer at Grandma Mayhew's, there was always something to look at, always something to read. So I think that had a lot to do with it too. And then, moving forward a little bit, one of those summers at Grandma Mayhew's, when I guess I was feeling really bored on some quiet, really quiet, so quiet you could hear the flies buzz, summer afternoon, I'm perusing the bookshelves, and I found a paperback book, and it was Catcher in the Rye. Now I'm thinking, what is a paperback book doing at Grandma and Grandpa Mayhew's house? And secondly, what is this Catcher in the Rye? So, I read Catcher in the Rye, and it turned into being one of those foundation books that I guess we always either try to teach or try not to teach too hard, or lately I just give it to kids, and if they read it, great. If they don't, that's great too. But what's interesting to me is the story behind this. I guess it turns out that Grandpa Mayhew was on the school board, and Catcher in the Rye, when it was introduced, was kind of controversial because of the profanity and because of Holden's anti-establishment attitude. So sometime in the early 60s, Grandpa Mayhew must have been charged with perusing this book, reading Catcher in the Rye, and figuring out whether or not it was appropriate. I've never tracked down the board minutes, so I don't know exactly what the verdict was, but I do know that I found it first on their bookshelf, and I've been teaching it on and off ever since. The other interesting thing about this particular copy of Catcher in the Rye is it's one that I bought to lend to a kid one spring, and it never came back, and I figured, great, it's out in the wilds, it's in circulation. So then fall comes around, I want to talk about banned books during Banned Books Week. I go to my shelf, and of course it's not there. So I go downstairs to the media center, figure I'll check out one of theirs. And I go to the shelf, and I pull this copy of Catcher in the Rye off the shelf, and I open it up, and there's my last name inside the cover. So I go over to the checkout counter, and I say, hey, what are you guys doing with my copy of Catcher in the Rye? And they turn it over, and they say, hey, why'd you write your name in our copy of Catcher in the Rye? I said, that's not what happened. I think what happened was this kid's book ended up in his locker, and he forgot about it, and it went on that table, and then the librarian saved it and put it on the shelf. So, of course, I took it back. So, now I got my copy of Catcher in the Rye. Alright, I'll talk more about banned books some other day, but for now, that's it. Take it easy.